You. Back door. Now. Marcus looked up from the sink, Sud still clinging to his wrists, as the manager barked command loud enough for the dining room to hear. He didn't answer right away, partly because he wasn't sure she was talking to him, partly because his ears still rang from the clatter of dishes moments earlier. Don't play dumb. I told you. 3 strikes, you're out. You're done here. Her name was Carrie. Late 30s, tightly wound bun, red acrylic nails that clicked against her clipboard. She ran the restaurant like a drill sergeant with a vendetta, and today, it seemed, her target was Marcus. Marcus was barely 30. Soft-spoken. Always early, always polite. Not once had he caused a scene. But when he had an emergency that delayed his bus that morning, Carrie didn't ask questions, just logged to tardy. Now, 3 of those, 2 of which came from system glitches he'd already cleared with the previous manager, had earned him a public humiliation. You're lucky I don't call security, she added, lips curled. Now, leave before I change my mind. But what Carrie didn't know, what nobody in that restaurant knew, was who Marcus really was and why he'd chosen this restaurant this day in this role. And by the time the truth came out, it wouldn't just be her clipboard that shattered.
Before we continue, if you've ever seen someone judge a person by their job or their uniform, this story is for you. Make sure you watch till the end, and don't forget to subscribe to Black Justice for more powerful stories like this one.
Marcus didn't say a word. He calmly wiped his hands on the towel tucked into his apron, untied the strings, and placed it neatly on a hook beside the sink. His movements were precise, measured. Almost too calm for someone who'd just been humiliated in front of a dozen co-workers and 2 cooks peeking through the service window. But his silence only irritated Carrie more. "Oh, now you got nothing to say?" she snapped. Typical. Can't show up on time, but can sure drag your feet when it's time to leave. Marcus turned and met her eyes for the first time. "I just want to clarify something," he said softly. "Are you terminating me based on 3 late punches?" Carrie laughed. "You think this is a court hearing? This isn't corporate. It's food service. You're lucky we even gave you a uniform." Behind her, one of the line cooks, Andre, dropped a pan a little too loud. Carrie spun around, annoyed. Anyone else got something to say? Silence. She turned back to Marcus, now at the threshold of the back door. "You know," she smirked, "dishwashing might not be for everyone. Maybe next time try something easier, like unemployment." Marcus didn't flinch, but just before stepping outside, he turned one last time. "I'll be back," he said. Carrie rolled her eyes. Sure, bring a lawyer. But it wasn't a lawyer Marcus would be bringing. Outside, Marcus pulled his phone from his jacket pocket. A phone Carrie had scoffed at earlier in the week when it buzzed during a break. "New iPhone, huh?" she'd sneered. "Big purchase for a dishwasher." He dialed a number and spoke plainly. "Yes." I completed the observation. Terminated unjustly. She cited attendance policy. No prior warnings on file. A pause. "Yes." Proceed with phase 2. He hung up and slipped the phone back into his coat. Across the parking lot, Carrie stood by the hostess stand, laughing with a customer. She hadn't even bothered to log the firing in the system yet. She figured there was no need. Dishwashers, as she called them, were a dime a dozen. But Marcus wasn't hired through the usual route. He wasn't in the system. He wasn't even on payroll. And he didn't need the job. He already had one. And today, he was clocking out as a state health inspector. And Carrie? She was about to be the one under the microscope. Inside, whispers were beginning to stir. "Yo, did you hear what she did to Marcus? Man just got here, and he's already gone. Didn't he save the prep line last week when the water backed up?" Andre was biting his tongue. He knew Marcus wasn't just another temp. There was something about the way he carried himself, the way he noticed things. One time, Marcus spotted mold under the walk-in seal, something even the prep manager had missed. And he hadn't even made a big deal about it. Just quietly mentioned it, took a photo, and moved on. Andre remembered another time, too, Marcus checking the thermometer in the fridge during his break. "Why are you checking that?" Andre had asked. Marcus had smiled. "Old habit." But Carrie hadn't noticed any of that. She only saw the apron, the skin, the silence. 2 hours passed. Lunch rush came and went. Carrie strutted through the restaurant, correcting servers with a click of her nails, sighing loudly when the printer jammed. She'd already bragged to the regional manager over the phone. Problem solved, she'd said. Was dragging down morale. Sometimes you've got to cut the weak links. And then the front door opened. A man in a black blazer walked in. Clean-cut, state-issued clipboard. Gold badge clipped to the lapel. The room stilled. Carrie frowned and approached with her usual confidence. "Can I help you?" The man glanced at his folder. "Yes, I'm here for a surprise inspection. Health Department." Carrie paled just a little. "Now, we weren't notified." "Correct. That's why it's a surprise." He stepped past her, and the assistant manager jumped up, trying to straighten the menus. "I'll need to speak to the general manager on record," the inspector said. "That would be me," Carrie said, straightening. But the inspector's eyes moved past her, to the swinging doors near the kitchen. And then he nodded once to someone behind them. Marcus stepped out. No apron, just a button-down shirt, slacks, and the calm face Carrie remembered. Now wearing a visitor's badge with his full name. Marcus Ellison, Department of Public Health, Senior Inspector. And with that, the real inspection began. For the first time all day, Carrie's mouth didn't move. She stood frozen near the host stand, eyes darting from Marcus's badge to the other inspector beside him. A quiet hum spread to the restaurant. Whispers between servers, cooks glancing out from the kitchen, a waiter pausing mid-order at table 6. Carrie forced a smile. "Wait, you're—" Marcus stepped forward, his voice steady but firm. "Health inspection, Ms. Delaney. As of this morning, this restaurant is officially under review for sanitation, safety, and labor compliance." Carrie tried to laugh it off. Okay. Is this some sort of test? Because if it is, I didn't." Marcus didn't flinch. "I'm here in an official capacity. I was assigned to conduct an anonymous field audit after multiple complaints were logged about management behavior and cleanliness violations." The color drained from her face. "Complaints?" He held up a folder, all documented, including photographs, some I took during my short time here. Her jaw tightened. "You tricked us." "I observed," he corrected, "and documented." She scoffed, voice cracking. "This is entrapment. You lied about who you were." Marcus shook his head. "I didn't lie. I simply didn't volunteer more than what was necessary. Just like you didn't volunteer that the staff sink hasn't had soap for 3 days." Her eyes widened. He continued, "Or that your walk-in refrigerator runs 5 degrees too warm. Or that expired seafood is still on the top shelf. Would you like me to continue?" The other inspector flipped a page on his clipboard. "Ms. Delaney, under state code, you're required to cooperate during all inspections. Is there somewhere we can sit and begin the walkthrough?" Carrie didn't move. She was staring at Marcus like he'd grown 10 feet tall. Across the room, Andre ducked his head, trying not to smile. Marcus walked past her, calm and composed. Each step made the silence heavier. Each page he turned sounded louder. Behind him, Carrie stumbled after them, stammering. "This isn't fair." He had a grudge. "He's biased." Marcus stopped and slowly turned. "Biased?" he repeated. "You fired me," he said, voice still calm. "Without warning, without documentation. And after I informed you I had a family emergency." "You said your cousin got hurt," she muttered. "He was hit by a drunk driver. I left 20 minutes early, and I still showed up the next morning." He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "But it's not about the emergency or the policy. It's about what you saw when you looked at me." She blinked. "You saw a dishwasher." He paused. "But what you didn't know was that I'm the one who signs the sanitation compliance report your restaurant needs to keep its doors open." And just like that, the room seemed smaller. She didn't respond. She couldn't, because there were no words for what she was feeling. They moved into the kitchen. Marcus's demeanor was professional, but the staff could feel the shift. The man they thought was just another quiet dishwasher now commanded the room, clipboard in hand, gloves on, flashlights sweeping under shelves. He pointed toward the fryer. Last oil change date? 4 days ago, the fry cook said nervously. Marcus checked the logbook. Noted, please drain and replace immediately. Oil degradation this advanced is a health violation. He knelt to examine a floor drain. His tone never rose. His eyes never narrowed. He didn't raise his voice. He raised the truth. Each instruction, each note, each photograph taken was another thread unwinding Carrie's authority. The assistant manager tried to keep up, following Marcus with a clipboard and taking notes of her own. Carrie, meanwhile, leaned against a dry storage rack, sweating. She wasn't used to being questioned, let alone documented. And when Marcus finally stepped out of the kitchen to begin the front-of-house evaluation, she followed like a shadow. "You're going to shut us down, aren't you?" she said bitterly. Marcus paused by the ice machine. "I'm going to do my job." She scoffed again. "You had this plan. You came in here looking for a reason." He finally turned to face her fully. "I came here hoping I wouldn't need one." Silence. "But you gave me more than I expected," he added softly. "And not just in the kitchen." He looked toward the dining room, where 3 waitstaff stood silently watching. "It's how you treat people, how you speak when you think no one important is listening." Her lips trembled. "So that's it? You're going to ruin me?" He shook his head. "I don't need to ruin you, Carrie. You did that yourself." And with that, he continued the walkthrough. Behind him, Carrie leaned against the counter, heart racing, the weight of every ignored rule and every raised voice finally pressing in. The next morning, the letter came in. It was official. Temporary closure. Immediate remediation required. Marcus had filed the preliminary findings the night before, his walkthrough completed with professionalism and precision. No anger. No personal vendetta. Just facts. Sanitation infractions. Improper food storage. Untrained staff handling allergens. Incomplete safety logs. The report was airtight, and not just because of violations in the kitchen. It included a supplemental ethics note. Management behavior observed to be discriminatory and inconsistent with labor code standards. It was that line, the quiet one near the end, that cut deepest. By noon, news had spread. Local vendors, regulars, even food bloggers began whispering online. "Did you hear what happened at Juniper and Pine?" They got hit by an undercover inspector. Someone said the manager fired him before she knew who he was. Carrie sat in the closed dining room, the chairs still up on tables, the sunlight streaking in like judgment. Her assistant manager stood nearby, silent. Across the table sat Marcus, still in plain clothes, still calm. Only this time, she knew who he was. "Will it be permanent?" she asked, trying to sound composed. "That depends," Marcus replied, "on how seriously you take the remediation process." She nodded stiffly. "There's a lot to fix," he added, "and not just in the freezer." Her eyes flicked up. "I didn't know. I didn't mean to." "I'm not here for apologies," he interrupted. "I'm here for improvement." She swallowed. "I built this place," she said quietly. "From scratch. Every wall, every recipe. And you nearly destroyed it with arrogance." That one landed. But he didn't raise his voice. He raised the truth. "You can come back from this," he said, finally softening. "But not if you keep treating people like positions instead of human beings." He stood. She looked up. "Will you be doing the follow-up?" He paused. "No," he said. "My part is done." Then he reached into his coat and handed her a small card. "State Ethics Compliance Resources," he explained. "They're who you call when the problem isn't just bacteria on cutting boards." He started to walk away, but she stopped him. "I didn't know who you were," she said. "I know," he replied. Then he turned and added, "But you should treat people like they might be somebody, because they already are." Weeks passed. The restaurant remained closed through most of the month. Health courses were mandated for all staff. The assistant manager took over daily operations. Carrie attended implicit bias training. Slowly, changes began to take root. One day, just before reopening, she sat at a newly cleaned prep counter and looked over the staff roster. A new, dishwasher had been hired. His name was Miguel. 17. First job. She called him over before his shift. "Hey," she said gently. "You doing okay?" He nodded nervously. "Yes, ma'am." She smiled just barely. "You matter here," she said, "no matter what your job title says. Let me know if anyone makes you feel otherwise." He looked surprised, then grateful. She stood back and watched him go, wondering if this was what starting over felt like. Elsewhere, Marcus sat quietly in his office downtown. He had just closed the file. Another case documented. Another chance for growth planted. He glanced at a photo on his desk. His mother in her old waitress uniform, smiling through tired eyes. He reached for his tea and leaned back just as a junior inspector knocked. "We got another review request," she said. "You up for it?" He smiled faintly. "Always." And as the door closed behind her, Marcus picked up his pen. The quiet force of justice wrapped not in fury, but in purpose.
If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, comment below, and subscribe to Black Justice TV, where every story speaks truth, dignity, and accountability. Because respect isn't about status. It's about humanity.